station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
It's Friday, the second day of October. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zool. We are tired, but we are here for you. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you haven't already, please share the link, start a watch party. Just get the conversation out there to your network. What a night we had. We'll try to get through it all. We'll still have the daily play, which is read it, don't act it. So it's movie night today. But I'm just going to be honest with you folks. I am still a bit shocked at the results of last night. A dominant display by the PLP. Yeah, Carla, I mean, I'm a call. I mean, you're the guru these days, huh? Yeah. Yeah, the guru. I mean, wow. Yeah.
It was I had such mixed emotions about it. The democracy side of it, the number one thing that I heard so many people and read so many people saying was there is no opposition, which is not healthy for any democracy. So for me, I mean, I think a few years ago I would have been like, yeah, way to go, but I don't feel that way this morning.
Yeah.
I had Craig Cannoner on my mind this morning as well, just
Well,
wondering
what he's doing.
What his reflective time is like. Like, has it sunk in yet? You know, and not just the loss, but the everything else that surrounds it.
Yeah. It's look, I think as a country, we definitely have to reflect and reevaluate it, what it is that we want from government. And you know, as I believe Nikisha said last night, once again, thanks to Nikisha Teo Rajay for joining us. She said it. You know, the people are now the opposition, right? And with that being said, we have a role to play. We have a role to play, and I think it's key that people understand that role and what the responsibility that comes with it. It's you know, I had the PLP winning quite a few of the seats they won, but I did not see them winning about. I felt they would lose some ground. But when you look at the numbers and you see that people like Chris Famous in that area extended his lead, despite what we were told were boundary changes that should help the OBA. Now, Mr. Cannoner said last night that it's time to rebuild. And a lot of people in the audience just think it's delusional on his behalf. And I think he's looking at, well, the PLP were once in this spot and 13 years later, they won the government. But there's a big difference. There's a big difference. And the difference is that was in the 80s. This is 2020. We're dealing with a different kind of electorate. Now, do we say all OBA people resign and move to the side? I don't know what it looks like. But the people of Bermuda have a job to do. I got a text early this morning, Carla, stating that the BPSU will be meeting at, I think, Victoria Park at 12. Maybe that's step one in terms of the new opposition. I don't know.
But even with him saying rebuilding,
Mhm,
I think it's a difference when you acknowledge that there's a shortcoming as such, and you try to rebuild from that as opposed to rebuilding from what seems like a deflection on other people. And I don't know if that was what he meant to convey, but that's how it came across last night.
mhm,
Um, and I think he did himself yet another disservice.
mhm.
So it's going to be, I really feel for those who are enthusiastic and young in that party as
Mhm.
such. Where do they go from there? Do they want to stay on a proverbial sinking ship,
Well, that
or
that's
do they?
that's a good question because I think it would be appropriate for us to reach out to a Dwayne Robinson and ask him how does he feel because he's a young, passionate person. How does he feel now? Believing and like many believing he had a shot, had a chance over there. Now, I did get a few messages, and folks, forgive me if I haven't gotten to all your messages. Look, I've had 3 hours sleep out on my jog. I had to take a seat on the sidewalk. That's how tired I am. But I saw one message that basically said, "Is this the white voters of the OBA rejecting the black candidates?" Interesting question. That interesting question. That now there's another way to look at it real quickly, Carla. Is have the white voters said, you know what? Let's focus on our business and let the PLP do their thing.
My answer to the first part of that question would be, well, they've always had black voters, but let's go back to a Dwayne Robinson when he appeared on the show. Dwayne was very progressive in his thinking. Looking at him and how he articulates and communicates on social media, he's very he's not inflammatory. He may not be, and others may not be the right black candidates for that party.
Mm. I want to go to Tarlina Murphy says something very interesting, and this is very telling. Good morning. It's different because PLP were always the opposition and building their base consistencies, and I think that's key because I don't think the UBP OBA have ever figured out how to be a good opposition. The PLP as an opposition, even when you look at the most recent time, the 2012 to 2017, you would believe that they were governing in opposition at times. If anything, they should look at the PLP and how they build their solid base, as Terlina says, just consistency over time is not going to happen overnight. And while understanding that this was a snap election, you cannot just throw candidates any old where. And it's the responsibility of the leader to always be prepared for what may be a snap election. I want to touch on, well, we have a long way to go. I want to touch on also the seats that, I mean, the shock of the night to me was Vic Ball and Vance Campbell. That to me, I know we saw a lot of PLP like Mr. Adams over there against Marcus Jones. But that right there, Vic Ball, because, I mean, understandably, Mr. Campbell was a senator, right? He was a senator. But Vic Ball, I mean, he had an op-ed in the Daily almost weekly. He was very you know, out there. He was people saw him and heard him. And that was a constituency that Trevor Moniz had for years. But what I think I'm going to give the credit to the PLP for is when I've spoken to people in that constituency, many had said they had not seen their candidate ever. The
And what I was going to
PLP
say to you
focuses on canvassing.
is connectivity. I,
Mhm,
I, I know that because we touched on it before, that to some canvassing is old fashioned, and I'm not even necessarily saying they have to canvass. However, connectivity is so key. And I think that the OBA has, I don't even know if they've ever had it as such,
mhm,
to the extent that the PLP is, but the connectivity is not there because there's more than one way to reach out to a constituent as well. It doesn't have to be knocking on the door.
Indeed. Shaz Wolf says, I think the shock for me was Trevor Munner's seat. Well done, Valence Company. Yeah, that was it for me. Sherlyn Wilson, I agree. The OBA need a new leader. As long as CC is the leader, they will never win the election. Therefore, if you are doing the work, a snap election wouldn't matter. This is it. This is it. And that's why I say should always be prepared. Dejon Simmons says, OBA refused to listen after 2012, 2017, the same thing. 2020 reflects that result of both not listening to the electorate and members who resigned from their party. Look, you know, we had this discussion last night where people were blaming Mr. Kennener. This monster did not. This is the monster of the UBP. Be not mistaken. Be not mistaken. This is not Kennener. Yes, he's the face and leader right now, but this is the monster of the United Bermuda Party. When I speak on this show, and we're gonna go there today, because we can sit here and we can say the PLP is this and that. And yes, I'm gonna still hold them to the fire. That's our job as the electorate, even though I couldn't vote. That is our job as the electorate. But the UBP created this monster that we have. And let me tell you how bad it was and how arrogant it was. And I stated this last night. I remember people saying, well, Michael Fay is no different than Colonel Birch. Yeah, there's a big difference. Many of the electorate saw Michael Fay as a white Canadian. They saw Colonel Birch as a black Bermudian. That's the difference. Michael Fay cannot govern like Colonel Birch. The UBP, I will repeat, created this monster because even when they merged with the OBA, there was at one point when they ousted Mr. Kennener that the whole cabinet was UBP. That's not what the people, well, they didn't vote for the OBA for government. They voted against the PLP, or they didn't show up for bills. And that's what the OBA failed to realize. You were not given a mandate. You became a default government because the electorate was so unhappy with the leadership of the PLP back then. So this monster, and we still see Michael Dunkley as an MP. This is on you, bro. This is on you. Make no mistake about it, Mr. Dunkley. This is a problem that because of your party, under your leadership, not listen, this is on Jeff Barron and Jeff Souza. This is on all of you for your dismissiveness of an electorate that just wanted to be heard, wanted to be respected. So yes, I do agree with the premier that the electorate rejected the One Bermuda Alliance, but they did not reject Craig Kennener and his leadership. That's too easy. We're not going to do that with this black-owned medium. That narrative is not going to be sold here. We're not going to look at the face.
Do you think he should resign?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the next leader of the OBA, if I'm not mistaken, will probably be someone like Scott Pierman. I think Mr. Kennener should resign gracefully and just, step aside. I mean, six people. What's the shadow cabinet? What's the shadow? Like, this is ridiculous. But again, we need to understand this is not Craig Kennener. This is the United Bermuda Party. Let's go to some comments. With all due respect, the OBA is done. Their lineage of racist white men, UBP OBA, will prevent them from becoming the government again. I don't disagree. First time for many, C7, Anthony Richardson as well. PLP took over Tucker's Town. I mean, I predicted he would win. I just felt that he would win. And when Teo worked it out last night, Teo actually showed that Cheryl Packwood actually probably contributed to that because he won by the amount of votes that she probably took. So we're assuming that happened. Robert Durham, caller.
Actually, can you read it? It's too small. I can't see it.
Her specs ain't working like they used to, folks. Too early. What about C19? First time ever. Congrats to Joshay Adams. First time we have ever had a PLP MP in Pembroke West. I'm happy for that young guy. I'm happy for him. I hope he does the work. I really do. I do the work. It was mentioned last night that well, gotta get to the news, isn't it? But it was mentioned last night that now, we're probably gonna have a bigger backbench than cabinet, and we want to talk about that the job that Premier David Burton now has on his hands. We want to talk about that. I want a little programming note because I got a lot of messages from people. A little programming note. So I got some messages from people last night, right, Carla? And they're like, wow, you're up to 200 viewers on here today. But I want people to understand you can only see the viewers that are watching where you're watching. So only us, we can see the total amount of viewers live. So if you're watching on a medium and it's 5 viewers, that's the only amount of people you can see from where you're watching. But if you're, backstage with us, you can actually see the full number. And I say that because we are honestly thankful and appreciative that you trusted us to have engaged with you throughout the night and continue to do every morning with us on this show. On that note, let's go to the news, see what Carla's got for us. Something tells me she has a world leader who has, never mind.
With what could be the lowest voter turnout in Bermuda's recent history, with 55%, the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party obliterated the One Bermuda Alliance during the October 1st general election with a 30-6 landslide win. Although it did not retain any seats in yesterday's election, the Freedom Democratic Movement performed very well on its maiden election, despite only being unveiled less than a month ago. Police have confirmed that a person of interest was helping with inquiries in connection with the $800,000 government deal with an American music promoter. The news came after lawyers for the government failed to locate Anthony Blakey in Georgia to serve him with a legal demand to return the bulk of the cash plus interest. Police did not identify the individual being interviewed, but the World Gazette is reporting that it is understood to be Danielle Trott, the Bermudian event planner who worked with Mr. Blakey. The loan agreement from April 2018 was signed by the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Economic Development and Tourism, Mr. Blakey and Ms. Trott. Turning to court news, a man who denied posting a threat against the premier on social media will be released after almost 3 months in custody. Magistrates Court heard that Jared Gordon, 31, will be released on $3,500 bail on the condition that he wear an electronic monitoring device. Mr. Gordon from Sandys was charged with posting a message against David Burt on social media that was menacing in character. The incident was alleged to have happened on July 15th this year. Turning to American news, President Donald Trump said early this morning that he and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the coronavirus, a stunning announcement that plunges the country deeper into uncertainty just a month before the presidential election. President Trump, who has spent much of the year downplaying the threat of a virus that has killed more than 205,000 Americans, said he and Mrs. Trump were quarantining. The White House physician said the president is expected to continue carrying on his duties without disruption while recovering. Meanwhile, Amazon has said that more than 19,816 of its frontline workers in America have contracted COVID-19 since March. The number equates to 1.44% of its 1.37 million workers across Amazon's and its subsidiary, Whole Foods. Amazon has faced criticism from employees, unions, and elected officials who have accused the company of putting employees' health at risk. But the online retailing giant said its infection rate is lower than expected. Amazon has kept its facilities open throughout the pandemic to meet a surge in demand from shoppers stuck at home. Staying open has proven very lucrative for the e commerce firm and has added to the wealth of founder Jeff Bezos, who's the world's richest man. It's time to take a look around and celebrate some of the most dedicated people in any school, its custodians. April 2nd is National Custodians Day, and never has their job been more important than in the age of COVID-19 when cleanliness is key. Today, I thought I'd localize our day of the year as I found a fitting tribute in the World Gazette to from Work Academy, who says, "We are fortunate to have four custodians, Gary McCullough, Jet Thorne, Roger Romantel, and Emmanuel Rodriguez. Although many people assume that the role of a custodian is only to keep the school clean, this first impression is incorrect. Custodians do so much more and are responsible for many of the aspects of keeping the school running. So, to you, gentlemen in Bermuda, we thank you. Turning to weather, Bermuda's high today is expected to be 82, while 81 in Fort Lauderdale and 57 in Manchester, UK. Don't forget, Medical House is your number one source of PPE supplies, masks, face shields, disinfectants, sanitizers, gloves, gowns, no touch thermometers, and so much more at the lowest prices. Visit Medical House at 22 Mill Reach Lane in Pembroke. And on a programming note, get your weekend started with Juggling Jason and the office workout on the full 100 radio from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Atlantic this and every Friday. That's your Daily Hour news break.
All righty. And don't forget, this weekend, Pure Sports Radio will return on the Full 100 Radio and its social media channels. Dage Miners, Larry Marshall Jr. will be bringing you that. Real quickly, I think I just thought of something. Last we've had this habit of having Work Academy people on the show. And I think Teo, Rajay were two more people that attended Work Academy. Did I wonder if what's her name? Nikisha. No, she could have went Work Academy too. Anyway, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back. Gonna pay some bills. Stick with us.
Good day, Medical House, Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products.
Anything that we ask them to do, they come through.
These same professional quality products are available to you for home healthcare.
If we can use them, we definitely do so.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It also has restaurant uniforms that stand up to even the toughest shifts. If you're on your feet all day, Medical House has comfortable and stylish shoes that are also durable and easy to clean. Everyone needs some help cleaning up, and Medical House has got it. Leading-edge janitorial, facility, and maintenance supplies are all here. Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
Tune in to the Full 100 Radio every Tuesday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Bermuda time as we bring you the love, romance, sexiness with nighttime jams. Only on your station for conversations and entertainment. The Full 100 Radio. Download the app available for Android and Apple devices.
All right. Thanks again to Medical House, Linda's for, getting behind this show, making sure we're able to do this for you. So Nikisha went to, looks like Bermuda Institute. So not a Work Academy, but Work Academy has produced some stuff for this show, haven't they? Real quickly, Sandra Williams says, while I celebrate the PLP victory, I am concerned over the huge number of non-voters they lost. They must restore the trust on the eligible votes. I fear if they overlook this crisis, anything can happen in the next general election. Victory it is, but they are losing ground. I would agree. I would agree that the electorate must be concerned. They must be concerned. Let's see. We have Elizabeth says the OBA's biggest mistake was merging with the UBP when we had the BDA. If the BDA just kept building, we would have a different point in history right now. I agree. I said that last night as well, that they should have just kept on keeping on. I truly believe that once they merged with the UBP, all was lost in what they could have been. And I think that's part of what Mr. Kennener may be hanging on to. I think Mr. Kennener may be hanging on to the fact that now I can build what I tried to build, but it's already been tarnished. And I think Mr. Kennener fails to realize with that the fact that it's been tarnished, so has he. I just don't think people are ready to let go of the baggage that they view comes with Mr. Kennener. Let's make no mistake about it. Last night was not something that should be celebrated, in my opinion. I said it last night, and I'll say it again. I think last night should concern a lot of Bermudians. It should concern us all. When I said last night that the PLP celebrating the victory and making all this noise. We shouldn't be celebrating a political victory like that. It shouldn't happen like that. That's not democracy. But the people, the electorate, the voters, even those who didn't participate, have to hold the government accountable. They must. Carla, you ready? Call us backstage. Look, folks, she had to go get some coffee. Come back on. She fell asleep while we went to commercial break. So let me just make sure she's back awake. You there? Well, that was I mean, you didn't fall asleep during commercial break?
Oh gosh, if only you knew how much I'm committed to the daily hour. As we all are.
Robert Durham, CC can't build anything while he and Dunkley don't even seem to be on the same page. Well, here's the deal. I got a message yesterday from someone midday asking, is it true that Michael Dunkley had resigned from the OBA? I did not hear that. Obviously, there's no mention in the news. I'm not a newscaster. We don't truly cover news as a show. We do have news reports, but I don't think Michael Dunkley leaving the OBA is going to help them either, because Michael Dunkley is part of the reason that the OBA is what it is. I want to discuss the FDM, because the FDM, despite not winning any seats, they showed up. When you look at those numbers. The Free Democratic Movement had a decent night. When you look at Desmond Cruckle, this is a community guy. I mean, he was up against Cousin Derek. Let's make no mistake about it. But in those areas where the FDM candidates received more votes than the OBA, that is telling. It's telling. I don't know if I can agree with Mr. Cannonier, because I don't see a way back for the One Bermuda Alliance right now. I don't. I want to touch on something, because a lot of people were speaking about the PR, Carla, of the One Bermuda Alliance. What I disagree at the fact that people felt within the One Bermuda Alliance feel they lost the 2017 election because of bad PR. I don't think they lost it. They lost it because they were bad at governing. However, I feel like since they lost, their PR has been bad. I think it's been horrible.
I don't understand it, and I don't know what the total machinery is behind their PR as such. But to me, again, if you have a disconnection, why would you have someone that still represents everything that people aren't for to still churn your movement? Nikisha mentioned it last night, like with the video. I think the video with Leah Scott and Ben Smith, I think that was one of the points where they really should have taken a step back and reassessed the direction that they were heading in a PR, from a strategic PR move. Because when you see your own party people condemning and pleading for you to stop, and you keep going, somewhere in your mind you thought that was a good strategy. There has to be some accountability, because even if, let's just say they were rogue and they did what they wanted to do, that PR person should have been like, no, this should not have seen the light of day. No.
Indeed.
That's what PR does. And if they continue with that same machinery, then they're in trouble. They're in more trouble than they even want to embrace.
Indeed. Sean Soares says, I completely agree with Elizabeth. The BDA was Bermuda's best hope and a way forward. It was built on a movement first and political entity second. The fact is that a few people in the party were impatient and wanted the reins of government too soon, as opposed to winning the hearts and, more importantly, minds of the electorate. Right out of the gate, they had an 18% favorability in the omnibus survey, which was conducted. The FDM needs to stick to the wicket, keep it slow and steady, I believe it says. I said that last night, and Elizabeth said it just now about the BDA, right? They should have stuck to the wicket. My concern with that comment, as I revisit it, though, is Michael Fay. Michael Fay was in the BDA, and so while I kind of stand by it that they had an opportunity to do better than this current OBA, I just don't think the way that Michael Fay conducted himself as a senator and minister, if that's the same he would have conducted himself in a BDA government, I'm not quite sure that they would have been the answer. I'm not quite sure.
Before we did news, Jamal, you made a statement and you said we'd be talking about who could perhaps be the new leader, and you said Scott Pearman. Can you elaborate on why you feel that way?
It's not going to be Michael Dunkley. Someone said earlier that Michael Dunkley, James Birch says Dunkley ran like an independent for his constituency. So you eliminate him. Susan Jackson. I don't think that Susan Jackson's going to be the leader. When you just go down the list of people,
just process of elimination,
I think that he would probably make the most sense for them. I mean, let's be honest, they don't have much choice, right? And that person is going to be responsible for building a new following, a new base, a new entity, a movement. So here's a great comment. Much like Jamal's favorite organization, the OBA have an authenticity problem. If you're not authentic, the people will see through it. It's
exactly
correct. It's correct. The FDM provide a good problem, as you have said previously, Jamal. I really do think that they proved that last night. Now the question is, does the FDM stick to the wicket and continue, on the doorstep, building and bringing on newer members? The reason the BDA was taken over by the OBA because of impatience and the money that required to run an election. Impatience, and obviously money always a factor. The OBA commercials were absolutely horrible. I couldn't believe they even used Dr. Brown in one. Well, look, I'm still stuck on the whole. I know we've mentioned it already. The conversation of Leah Scott and Ben Smith. And then when you pretty much use Dr. Brown, I mean, and as Dr. Brown said, it's running in their heads rent free. I believe Dr. Brown when he says, look, when he came on the show, he was like, look, I've got a 9 a.m. tea time. This guy's enjoying retirement. He has no interest in being involved in the process. I truly do believe that. He stepped away. But I think the idea that you take Dr. Brown, regardless of how you feel about him, it's not going to change the minds of the base that are not going to support you. But Carla, let's focus on the PLP and Premier David Burt. Let's enough about the OBA UBP. Let's talk about solutions to this problem that we have, because we have a problem. Bermuda has a big problem right now, and that problem is there's literally no one to hold the government accountable in the House. There's no one to hold them accountable. I mean, we're talking about 6 MPs, right? If 2 of those are unable to make it, they're down to 4. So now we need to talk about the responsibility of the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party to the electorate. And I want to ask people, how are you going to do your part to hold them accountable? Because I fully support, as I stated the other day, each of the leaders on something, but especially Premier Burt about the digital bank. I love the idea. But the question to all of you out there today is, how are you going to go about supporting this new government of Bermuda? And I say new because from 25 seats to 30 is a new government, especially when you don't have a functioning opposition. I mean, let's go to Leslie White says, we as a people need to hold PLP's feet to the fire. Transparency, accountability, honesty must be demanded by us. Okay, I agree. And, I think Teo may have asked last night, what does that look like? Well, it looks like, as I stated, in Bermuda, your elected officials are so accessible, right? I'm going to use Renee Ming. Minister Renee Ming is out in her constituency all the time. She's walking, she's out there. She is easy to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
It may not have anything to do with your consent, but she has proven that she will fight for the people. I've been told stuff that like she's in there representing even in caucus. So even let me tell people, let's say you have a representative who is hard to get, your MP is hard to get a hold of. Go to one of the ones who is easier to reach. They still hold weight. We are too close. We are too close to our politicians not to be holding them accountable. And the PLP, as Nikisha said last night, with this amount of power, we are the opposition. So it's on us. Tamara Richardson says, let's talk about keeping 29 MPs satisfied on the same team with a unified vision and selecting a cabinet from the group. Hold on now. We started discussing this last night, right? We started discussing this last night. She brings up a good point. This is trouble. This is trouble. And I say it's trouble because, look, David Burt, the Premier of Bermuda, in my opinion, was thrown under the bus twice by the same former minister in the space of the last 2 weeks. Twice, right? And anyone who can't see that, I'm not calling names. I'm not going to be, any more specific. But he was thrown under the bus over the last 2 weeks. And regardless of how you feel about David, if you're in a workspace and you throw your boss under the carpet publicly, you should be reprimanded. Or at least resign from working on his team, no? So I think that is going to cause problems. I want to see how he's able to manage it. I do think you have people like Mr. Famous, Chris Famous, who appeared on the show last night. And, people were like, oh, he needs to be a minister. Well, Famous is he's a minister for the people of his constituency.
Mm-hmm. He's going to work tonight.
He's going to work tonight, right? You have those people. But for the most part, you do have people who get into this, and they're not like Mr. Famous or Minister Ming. They don't have other jobs, so they look forward to a ministry so that they can have a payday. Not saying that everyone's like that, but there are cases like that. So managing the expectations of all those people, we have to keep in mind what was said last night, again, by Nikisha, is that the backbench is going to be bigger than the cabinet. How do you keep those people happy? This is going to require a lot of great leadership. This is going to be a test for the premier. And let's just be honest, to quote Mark Bean years ago, the snakes in the grass will be circling.
You still say 30 days?
For what?
Well, remember we talked about, will there be a potential overthrow, for lack of a better word, or a new PLP leader, because snakes in the grass. So you said 30 days. That's what you said.
I thought I said 30 days for Craig. But I think anyone who tries to oust David Burt right now would be foolish. I think they would be foolish. In fact, if the PLP had their delegates conference 2018, it's every 4 years because they changed their constitution. Not like anyone follows constitutions these days from the US to Bermuda. But anyway, I think the next time he can be challenged would be 2022. But it would be foolish for anyone to challenge David Burt's leadership. He has just led them to the largest victory the PLP has ever had. And I think the support among the people in the party is really high. I think it will come across as backstabbing if anyone was to do that. Teresa Stewart says, I'm planning to do quarterly performance reviews and pressing everyone in government to show me the receipts of the work they've done. And this is key. Thank you for that. Because it's not, I keep saying, I don't want you to be cutting trees and painting houses. I want to see the work that you're doing in the house. I implore and I encourage the Bermudian people. Like I said, before COVID, Friday night date night with my wife, and then she'll tell you, come home and I'll turn on the House of Assembly. This is me. I can't even vote, people. But I love Bermuda. I love you. So I'm very much in touch with what's going on in the House most times. During the day, I can't listen because I'm working, but I do listen, and I encourage Bermudians to listen because one of the key reasons, if anything, why I want you to listen is what happened yesterday with Premier David Burt. Yesterday, Premier David Burt shared his version of events because he knew what the Royal Gazette was going to print or not print. When you listen to the House of Assembly yourself, you're not getting sound bites or what's written by any medium. You're getting it straight from their mouths. Now, you can always go back to Hansard as well, but I encourage people, honestly, if you can do one thing for yourself, tune into the House, even the Senate. Charles asks, do the backbenchers become the opposition? I just don't see the PLP splitting right now. I don't see. I don't know, Carl. I don't see the PLP splitting.
I'm not as politically astute as you all, but I don't see that either. It doesn't make sense. Just logically, it just makes no sense.
No.
I can see maybe someone trying to be the new leader, but I can't see them splitting.
Joe Mars says, no strong opposition. It's up to the people. Indeed. Not an easy task, and I believe you have to have at least one cabinet member from the Senate. So someone said last night, the premier's real challenge is going to be naming the Senate. I disagree. He had 6 people lose last night, right? One of them was his chief of staff. So 5 of them to the Senate. It's not that easy, folks. I'm just saying, to please everyone, that would be perfect. But you need the right people. You just can't put anyone in the Senate. David Michael R. Wilson says, Bermuda is too small for there to be little to no accountability. Rather, if there is nothing happening for us, we have only ourselves to blame. Isabella Hall, you guys were amazing last night. Best of night's election coverage. Thank you. We appreciate you. We really do.
Thank you.
Leslie White, politicians have huge egos. It's going to be interesting. Managing. You have to manage personalities. You really do. Charles, being thrown on the bus by one of your own MPs, that's the elephant on the table. You guys.
Do you think it's going to be a cabinet shuffle?
Oh, absolutely. It's a new government. So it usually happens that way. I expect to see people don't get at me on this, but I expect to see Van Keynes and Vandy Silva to return to cabinet. I expect that. People may say, well, they just, well, that's done. And like it or not, and it's not just because of the amount of hours that Wayne Keynes works, but, I think he's actually effective. I do. When he is not scoring earned goals, Wayne Keynes is an effective. He can be very effective, right? Zandy Silva is a hard worker. I believe that those two will return to cabinet unless the premier asks them and they say no. I'm fine on the side still because I was accepting responsibility for whatever. But at this point, I think for the most part, the public may be over it and they'll be returned to the cabinet at the expense of who I don't know. I honestly don't know. Let's go to Lamone Wood says Burt will do well. He has his MPs under control. That is clear. The newbies will fall in line. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't want to. I really can't disagree with that. Jeremiah Michael Haywood says, speaking generally, our black people closeness to the PLP is exactly why they won't be held accountable. OBA supporters, primarily white people, exercised their democratic right to protest the PLP and were characterized as a lynch mob. In aggregate, I fear the PLP will go about its business unopposed. You know what? I mean, history has shown he's probably right, but I do hope that he's wrong. I really do hope that he is wrong. Carla getting some props. Your political instincts are acute due to your close predict. Man, stop that nonsense. Look, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We are not doing that. You know, all I'm gonna say is Dr. Maria Seaman. Yeah, we'll leave it
I
at that.
can have one. Just leave me alone. I take it. I take it.
My goodness. Go ahead, Carla.
No, I'm just
Okay.
giggling. I am so tired. I'm giggling.
Um, LeJoy Daniels Robinson says, will be interesting to see who is chosen for the new cabinet positions. I think we're all watching that. Obviously, I think there's one sure person we know will have a position, and that's the finance minister.
Mm.
I think we know that Curtis Dickinson will be the finance minister. That much we know, because it's one of those things. Who else is going to do it?
But with the accountability, I really think this is where our Gen Zs are really gonna step up.
Mhm.
You have like Media Maya, who has a following in her age demographic and beyond, but who's gonna stay, and I pray that she does stay on that, keeping staying in the know, because I think that young people need this. And these young people, let's be for real, they're tired. They
Mm.
are not afraid to express themselves. Bermuda Youth Connect, like, I think that we're in a great time where the voices that normally, I'm not even going to say weren't heard, but didn't necessarily vocalize, are going to be very, very vocal. It's not going to be a hill parlor sliding, because these young ones will keep their knees on their necks.
Indeed, indeed. Um, Malika Cartwright says, we as a people need to become more involved in the process, listen to the HOA and the Senate, hold your MP accountable to speak your concerns in caucus. Some of us have become too hands off in the process. I agree, Malika. Again, and even where she mentions hold your MP accountable, hold them accountable. Look, Zandy Silva's not my MP, but his MP for my close friends and my immediate family. So I reach out to Mr. De Silva and be like, say a little word, and he's very responsive to me. So, we have to, again, I'm just going to keep repeating it. Our politicians are extremely accessible to us. Charlene Gilbert, I think it'll be hard for Keynes now that you have quite a few women now in the PLP's house. Let's hope you're right. Tamara Richardson, financially, it would be good to see a smaller cabinet. I agree. Not just a smaller cabinet, but an effective and smaller cabinet. The finance minister will have some tough times ahead leading up to the 2021 budget. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the BPSU is meeting today in Victoria Park. So this new government's getting off to quite a cracker, huh? Um, Elizabeth says Maria Seaman didn't even get the lowest votes in her constituency. That says enough. Okay, well, you want to comment on your?
Listen, stop it, you people.
No,
Just stop cyberbullying me.
I'm
No.
sorry.
I was gonna say something else, but you always harassing me on this Maria Seaman thing, so it'll come back. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. From an education perspective, I hope that all the social science teachers out there use this election as a great teaching moment for our youth as well. Someone mentioned before, Malika, I believe, that we have to be closer to the process.
Mhm.
And I mean, a lot of us, you're not one of them. I would say I am or was, who was so apathetic to the process, but knew when to vote. I think we need to become more connected and understand it all. And I hope that educators and family elders or whomever can really teach the young people on what they need to do.
Indeed, indeed. Um, let's go to Marie Richards says those elected need to work in their constituencies, and that is first and foremost. The premier will also utilize the backbench, drive new initiatives that will be needed going forward. Let's hope you're right, Miss Marie Richards. Jeremiah Micah Haywood says, indeed, the media's role is more critical than ever. We need more investigative reporting. I believe so. I mean, you know how I feel about media. That's why I'm thankful to Crimson Multimedia and Channel 82 for teaming up with us to do this. And by the way, that was a suggestion given to us by Dr. Kaiwan Brown. And collaboration is key. I continue to tell this story about this show, for instance. It's all about collaboration. Waking up to do this daily isn't easy, but we deserve to have our spaces where we can share our narrative. We really do. And so I'm thankful that you all have trusted us to have these conversations on a regular basis. Charles Jeffers says, and the attorney general, that's a definite. All other cabinet positions are up for grabs, except maybe Colonel White. Well, no, the attorney general. I mean, PLP has quite a few lawyers. I mean, Wayne Keynes can be the attorney general. You also have Kim Wilson, who's a former attorney general. So I wouldn't even say that Kathy Lynn Simmons is a shoe in for that. He may see her more in another position. So that I would like it's up in the air. I would say finance is the only guarantee. Relima, as the premier said last night, humility is key in the wake of this election. It was a more subdued win compared to 2017. They know this election could likely be principal votes. And with a third movement formed, voting on principle, standing with PLP over the distraught OBA, they have they have to really prove their worth in action these next 4 years. Everyone is watching hard. If not, they will make room for FDM. That said, looking forward to the new cabinet and what return government must undertake. Yeah, I think the premier said the new cabinet will be announced next Thursday. So everyone's got a week to make predictions of what that may look like.
Shall I?
Oh, there you go with it. Okay, Carla.
I wouldn't. You know why? Because I think it's going to be creative. I think he's going to be creative, and he may meld a couple. And remember, he has tourism. Will he give tourism back to someone else? So no, I won't even touch that.
Who's going to be the finance minister, Carla?
Well, duh. But I do disagree with you. I think that Kathy Lynn Simmons will retain the AG
I didn't say she won't. What I said.
No, you didn't. You said there could be other options. You did.
I just said he has other options. That's it.
I just think for continuity, I think he will.
I think those are the two short choices, but I definitely
anything's possible.
If he changed it, I mean, he has the options is what I mean. I can't see finance, education, national security, or health changing. I expect to see those ministers back. I don't know. I mean, props to Kim Wilson, though. I mean, she has had a tough job on her hands. People say a lot of the work being done is by those in the ministry, and this is true, but she still has to be the spokesperson for it. So we have to keep in mind, does she even want that ministry back? You feel me? Like, she probably feels like it's taken 20 years off. I'm not calling her old, by the way. I'm just saying that you never know.
COVID was a lot to deal with.
It was a lot to deal with. So we have to even keep in mind that, even Diallo Rabin as the education minister, does he even want to return as that minister? Maybe he might say to the premier, I'll sit out. I just want to spend more time with my family. You don't know. We honestly don't know. We don't know. Even my prediction of Curtis Dickinson, but I think, the whole move to 21 may have been part of agreeing with that. Who else would be in Ministry of Health? Well, never forget, folks, the ministries are, could go to anyone. Zandy Silva's a former Minister of Health. Renee Main could be a Minister of Health. Kim Wilson doesn't have any healthcare experience. It doesn't come down to what your expertise is or knowledge. So keep that in mind. Carla, we have to go pay a bill, and we'll come back with the daily play and inspirational thought, and we'll let people go for the day. How's that?
Great.
Alrighty.
Bermuda College has facilitated the success of thousands of Bermuda students since 1974. Today, we take great pride in providing quality instruction, innovative education, and unparalleled student support. Bermuda College is now seeking to extend its tradition of customized commitment by recruiting credentialed faculty who share our passion for delivering instruction that will inspire and challenge minds.
How did I get involved in teaching? It was through the fascination of meeting people and university, the things professors explained to me in ways that I'd never even conceived of before. To see students' eyes light up when they suddenly understand because of something you've told them why things have happened the way they have in the past or why they do certain things. I can think of nothing more rewarding than being a teacher.
To learn more, plan to attend one of the online information sessions. Times and webinar details are on the college website at college.bm.
All right. Thanks again to Medical House, Linda's, Bermuda College for making sure we're able to do this. Call us, Zoom, myself, Jamal Hartman. Don't forget, this show is available on Channel 82 on Cable 1, Channel 82. We also are available on Facebook on the Full 100 Radio and the Daily Hour pages, on the YouTube pages of the Full 100 Radio and the Daily Hour. as well as the Daily Hour Twitter and Twitch handles and the websites, thedailyhour.com, thefull100radio.com. Juggling Jason, as Carla mentioned earlier, will be coming up on the Full 100 Radio in about an hour and 5 minutes, taking you into the weekend, playing all the best hits. Get ready for that office workout he ends his show with in the final hour. Don't forget Pure Sports Radio this weekend on the Full 100 Radio social media platforms and station. DH Miners and Larry Marshall Jr., two track athletes. They'll be on. Not sure what they'll be discussing, but if you love sports, you'll get on with those two gentlemen. Carla, we have a daily play for you, and we're going to need the help of the audience with this. All right, here we go. This is a movie line, a line from a movie, and I think it's so appropriate for the electorate of Bermuda. Quote, "I don't want to survive. I want to live." End quote.
I know that. And I can't see the comments, by the way, because I'm on my phone. You already did Chris Rock in that other movie, so it's not that movie. Give me a hint.
It's a movie that involved slavery.
Oh. Roots?
Nope.
Oh, Something Slaves a Man, that movie?
Close.
The one with Digimu Hansen. I'm messing up his name.
Help her out, folks. Help her out.
I can't see though. I can't see any comments.
Oh, I'll tell you. Help her out. I'll just repeat it one more time.
7 Men's a Slave or something. That movie, right?
Did you just say 7 Men's a Slave?
I don't watch movies, Mouse. 7 Slaves a Man, whatever it's called. That movie, right?
Oh, boy.
12 Years a Slave. I was close.
She said 12 Men's a Slave, my friends. She said 12 Men's a Slave.
I don't watch movies, but I knew what you meant.
My goodness. So real quickly, before Carla gives the inspirational thought of the day, don't forget next week, we are focusing on mental health. We normally on this show have not focused on one particular subject, but we just feel like it's so important, especially in the Black community. So we will be focusing on mental health next week. We'll have various guests coming on. We'll be speaking early childhood, school age, and adulthood mental health. So I hope that everyone can join us, be a part of these conversations, and feel open. Something happened yesterday where Jason Whitlock, who's a very critical of Black outspoken activist, criticized John Legend and Christy Teigen, who unfortunately, lost their baby. And people jumped on this guy and basically said, you don't know why people share these things. Maybe it's to help the others who are going through this, to comfort them. And so, we really don't know why people deal with things the way they do. And a lot of us are dealing with something. No, I think everybody's dealing with something, to be honest, but people deal with it in different ways. So I think these are important conversations that we're going to have next week. And I hope that you all can join us. Carla, what do you have as far as inspiration of the day?
Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Leo Tolstoy.
I have a problem with that quote.
Okay.
Why did it have to be himself? Why it couldn't be herself?
That's what Leo said. So hit him up and ask him.
Any final words, Carla?
You know what? I just want to say hi to my daddy because he was so excited that he could watch us last night on Channel 82. So I think we've provided through partnership a great place for seniors. So hi, Daddy.
All righty. Hey, Daddy. I just want to say again, huge thanks to everyone. Lemon Woods, Crimson Multimedia, and Channel 82. The sponsors, my good friend Teo, who we bought out of retirement for a night, and Nikita, who I hope to work with again, Roger, and the entire Daily Hour crew, my partners, Keitha Keynes and Shanta Simmons, and everyone who's behind Bermuda Communications Group. We really, I thank you so much. But on that note, everyone have a great weekend. Be safe, be good. Don't do anything I would do. We appreciate you. We love you. And we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.